Positive psychology is an approach that attempts to really emphasize the strengths of the individual. So what's important to understand before really getting into some of it is that it doesn't really look to replace other therapeutic approaches, but it looks to supplement other therapeutic approaches to be a little bit more strengths focused and positively focused. You know, when we start working with clients, one of the first things that we do is we sit down and we do an assessment, and the time can range anywhere from 50 minutes up to 2 hours, sometimes with regard to an assessment. And a lot of these questions that are asked in the assessment are very negatively focused, right? What's your trauma history, substance use history, what are your symptoms? Really scanning the client, looking for specific problems. And then we'll have like a little brief thing somewhere in the assessment, like what are your strengths? And oftentimes it's difficult in my experience for a client to talk about strengths, right? They might be able to go through this whole assessment and talk about the problems and woes of their lives with relative ease, and then when it comes time to talk about strengths, they tend to be a little bit stunned and quiet that they were even asked about it, and maybe can come up with 2 or 3 strengths. So what positive psychology does is attempt to focus on really bringing those strengths to the forefront of the client's life and using those strengths to be able to help the individual move forward with whatever problems the individual's facing. And that's what's really important, that it's not a fix what's wrong approach. It's a build on what's strong approach to the client. So we already have all these great things as people, and it's a matter of uncovering those, emphasizing those great strengths that we might have in order to tackle any obstacles that we may have. So really what we want to do is help a client flourish. Right, and that's really living life to the fullest with positive emotions, a strong sense of meaning, and really engaging in life, really increasing those tendencies within the client. So this approach looks to supplement in a way that overcomes some of the barriers that exist out there with regard to clients getting well. And it's really necessary to have a positive focus. You can do a quick Google search or EBSCOhost search and just search for like mental health treatment. And the vast majority of articles that you're going to read are going to be negatively focused, right? They're going to be on stress, anxiety, depression, risk factors, and all that stuff, right? And you'll find very few articles that deal with really a positive focus with regard to helping the client. So what we want to do is have a more positive focus, right? If you watch the news, our brain can have a tendency to, scan the world for negative things. So we don't want to have to remediate, we want to build on these current strengths that exist. So within positive psychology, we divide it up into different virtues. We have wisdom and knowledge, right? That deals with curiosity, love of learning, cognitive strengths. We have courage, right? The willingness to face opposition, right, and to take those healthy risks. And then we have humanity, that deals with really wellness towards others and helping towards other people, right, care and compassion. And then we have justice, which deals with fairness, which is necessary for a healthy engagement in the community. And then temperance, the ability to ward off vices, to do things in moderation. Right, to not do things within excess, right, the ability to practice temperance. And then transcendence, and that's really about self-actualization, forging connections to the broader community, the larger world, the larger universe, right, and understanding one's fit within the grand scheme of things. So another important thing to understand about strengths is that disordered behavior, some things that we see with clients that are causing problems in their life, can be the result of a strength in excess or not demonstrating a specific strength, right? So I think an easy example to use is pride. That if you have too much pride, then it's quite possible that you'll be a little narcissistic, that unable to ask for help when you're experiencing some problems, and not enough pride could lead to less grit and less perseverance, and not feeling good about positive accomplishments. Kindness and caring is another great strength to have, right, within that virtue of humanity. Right? But in excess, someone might lack assertiveness or be a doormat if it's not kept in with that healthy range. But right, if someone has that, they're able to have probably some decent friendships, experience care and love and compassion in the context of relationships. So when you're working with a client and you take a look at some of the behaviors that are being demonstrated, it's important to identify the strengths and see if that's something that's happening in excess, or they're not demonstrating a current strength that they may have, and working within that mindset to help to adjust to a healthy level. So also we want to look at the three areas that we're going to target with specific interventions to be able to enhance somebody's happiness within their world. And the first is the pleasant life, and that is the positive emotions. Is the client experiencing positive emotions, and what can we do to help the client experience more positive emotions within their life, right? This is the pleasant life. So something I'll do with clients is get them to do things, right, to kind of undo the effects of negative stimuli that they may have in their life, to experience more positive emotion, to overcome a depression or an anxiety. So do things that they enjoy. It might be community service work, activities with family, even participating in a hobby, be it sports or athletics on the weekends, writing music, whatever it might be, that somebody is having more positive emotion within the course of their day. And then we want to look at the engaged life. And that can be with the same activities as the client really engaging in life. This is related to, like, for me, the concept of mindfulness, right? Being totally present and engaged. And one of the concepts that is identified here is that of flow. Somebody who is experiencing flow is really there in the moment, right? And we almost have that loss of time when we're doing something that we really enjoy. It could be soccer on the weekends, or it could be playing music, or a really great conversation where that time it goes by so fast, and the individual is experiencing flow. But we want to target that with our clients, to be able to engage life, to be an active participant in life, to be able to really start to live life to its fullest through the process of engagement. And then we have the meaningful life. Right, and that gets to more existential concepts, that if I'm finding connectedness and meaning, that meaning is an active process, that's not a passive process, that we actively construct meaning within the context of our lives, right? Through either accomplishments or even positive relationships and contributions that we make within those two. So it's really important to do that and to help the client experience what would be called the full life, and the client can then flourish. Really true engagement in life, positive feelings, and finding a deep level of meaning within life. Positive psychotherapy can be done in a structured format, and you can take a look at that on your own time. But typically, I use it in a way that uses specific interventions to target, to uncover certain strengths that exist and be able to use those to supplement, for me, cognitive behavioral therapy approaches, right? Somebody who has some low self-confidence, low self-esteem, is able to uncover these strengths and use them to target some of these problems. So to do that, we have different interventions. We have the gratitude visit, asking a client once a day to open up their email and send a message, call somebody, express gratitude for something that has happened in their life. And then we have savoring, right? And that's an activity of engagement, slowing down during eating, chewing the food quite enough that you can taste everything, and really enjoying the food and doing one thing at a time. Another assignment is you at your best. Write me a story that is you when you're really on your game, you did something really well and you're at your best. And we'll use that story in order to identify strengths and see how we can use those in a different way. And then finally, I use the assessment. You can use the VIA character assessment to give to a client. It takes a little bit of time. It's a lot of items. Maybe, it takes 20 minutes for them to do it, and they'll get rank ordered their strengths within positive psychology and positive psychotherapy. And then we can use those strengths to talk about them, to see what they're using in excess at specific times, and to see how we can use those strengths to tackle some of their cognitive distortions or other things and issues that they may be having in their life. So positive psychology, positive psychotherapy is gaining more research, which is a positive thing. That we're, better understanding the effects of including it with other treatment approaches to be able to help the individual learn and grow. Right, so a limitation of it, if somebody has narcissistic tendencies, that really focusing on their strengths continually, might exacerbate some of their issues. Certain clients might find it difficult, to have strengths talked about very early in the treatment session, and it might make them uncomfortable. So that's something also to take into consideration. But overall, it's a really helpful approach, a great approach to be able to include with other approaches, to be able to enhance some of the other more broadly used theoretical approaches for clients.